All right, so we are back up here. Let's see if we can get Adam back in here.
Still here?
I think he is. I don't know if it's going to do it or not. No, it's not going to let me do it. Right here, and okay, give us this permission. Go ahead and sign back in again. So let's see if this works. All right, guys. So as you understand, unplugged. We are unplugged. So hopefully we can get them to log back in. If it lets them log back in, we'll go from there. So Steve, how's your belly?
My belly's fine. How's yours?
Oh, mine's doing perfect.
Good to see you back.
Yeah.
Like a crazy clown.
Oh, you had that clown on, huh?
Yeah.
He's kind of barged in here and was kind of crazy. So I don't know. We'll see how that worked out. Let's see if I can get that to come up. If he can. Let's see if we can get that.
Does he need a new link?
That's what I'm going to try to see if I can send a link.
I see this damn link doesn't work.
How do you pull up the comments?
Let's do
Comments?
it.
If we can bring up the comments.
Comments, because we're gonna sit here and just.
There's comments. Sitting coffee tonight. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're just sitting here.
We're sitting here.
Yeah, screen.
We're having issues
Just
tonight.
hanging out.
We're just trying. You know, hey.
Hey, look at the screen.
Look, everybody's saying, I'm glad you're okay, Steve. Look at that. Everybody's worried about you.
Yep, I'm back. Back from the dead.
It was that chilly.
Yeah. Again.
He hasn't learned no chili. No chili for Steve.
The problem is, and I know a lot of people disagree, is no beans.
I didn't eat no beans. That's not why I didn't have any beans.
There was beans in the chili.
Yeah, but I ate the chili. I only ate a piece of meat out of it. So.
One piece of meat does a lot.
Why am I hearing myself play back?
Because I was looking at something. There we go.
Doing a commercial for Burger King at the moment.
We're trying everything.
I'm trying to get the camera to be on me somewhere. I thought I turned that enough over to you. There's some stall screen.
Well, there you go. You want that? There you go. We can do that one there. Is that better? Is that better for you?
That one.
Mr. Hopefully it works.
Blowing bubbles.
He's blowing bubbles. You call him Bubbles from now on.
Yeah, I heard he's back in town.
Bubbles is back on now?
Yeah.
Did you ever blow bubbles?
Nope.
How about you?
No.
No.
Not my thing. Well, let's see if he comes in. Anyways, guys, Adam's got a couple books out there. I have two of his books. Here's one of them. You guys can see that. And they're pretty good. I mean, I haven't got to read all three through them. My favorite one so far is this one here. It's all about Christmas. It's letters to Santa Claus, which are pretty cool. And it's articles that were written to Santa Claus. And some were published in newspapers. And they have a bunch of different things in there. It's kind of cool. I mean, thinking about what the kids asked for back then compared to the kids asking for nowadays. Now let's see if we get Adam in here. Let's see. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you still. What the heck's going on here?
You sure it's something not muted?
It's
on
not
here?
something muted. That's what I'm just saying. Give me 1 second, Adam.
Sure.
We do
We
apologize.
tried everything.
Let's see. Audio speakers, that's on. Test. Adam,
They can hear him.
they can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Huh.
We can't hear him. How's that? Nothing.
You got something defaulted with our
There's something defaulted
that's
somewhere.
coming through our headphones that you don't have hooked up or disconnected.
Well, nothing's been disconnected up here. That's the fun part. So I don't know what it is. Okay, microphone's on. That's on. Audio. Those are all at the right place. Still off.
No, the speakers are your headphones. You gotta send the sound to your laptop to our headphones. That's nothing to do with this.
All right.
You don't have a setting for that to send to headphones.
We should be hearing that too. We're not hearing that.
Adam has left the room.
I'm back.
Adam's like, I'm done.
He's
I'm
like,
done
"I'm
with
out."
these guys. I'm not going to deal with this.
He's like a bunch of amateurs. I'm out of here. Man, John Ruggiero is gonna have a
Oh,
ball
he's
with
gonna
you.
blast it.
Well,
Not me, him.
Hey, I don't care. You can say what you want.
So can anybody hear me?
What is? Okay, so we have this.
Too many wires.
There's too many wires. Last time it was this cord here that something went on with it. This comes in from here. Let's go. Here.
we're gonna have to learn sign language, Adam.
Yeah, right.
Try that. Where's this plugged into, Steve?
Let me get up.
Try that cord right there, that black one. This one right here.
That's plugged in.
That is, I don't know.
You plugged in?
Everything's plugged in on my end. Yeah, everything's plugged in.
It might be your soundboard. Can you get a new computer? Input. It's on input. Yep.
Everything's in.
Line in.
Couldn't tell you.
I can't tell you. You know this one.
This is Adam.
I'm
Okay,
here.
still can't hear you. So give me a
Ah.
second here. Let's see what we can figure out here.
All right.
This
You have
is
a camera sound going.
yeah.
Blocking the camera sound.
No, they're all.
Like the camera sound set is blocking.
They shouldn't even be on. Well,
Did you do a test earlier?
yeah,
And
it was
you could hear
working.
him- and you could hear him fine?
Yeah, I could hear everything. Everything was playing fine. The music was playing fine and everything. So I don't know what's going on here.
No, I'm saying like you guys communicated.
I didn't talk to him,
Okay.
but it was working when I tested everything earlier. Excuse me. Everything when I went in here and tested everything like I normally do, it was working. Automatic adjust microphone sound, reduce sound. I know you guys can hear him, but we can't hear him.
I can hear everyone.
What was that?
Mhm.
Well,
Sounds like you heard it for a second there.
yeah, something came through and it just popped off.
Can you hear me?
There goes John. Who doesn't love this live stream?
Sound on there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
John's on here. John, we all love the live stream. You know how difficult it can get. Doesn't make sense. It does not make sense at all. Well, I don't know what else we can do.
There's nothing off on the caster.
Nope, there's nothing off on the cast. There's nothing off over here. It's like something just kind of.
I could have a soundboard in your computer. You know,
It's shouldn't be doing anything with that. Let's see if I can switch it over to here. See if this makes a difference.
Well, while you have they can hear you, Adam. Why don't you talk
Yeah.
about your books?
Yeah, tell us about your books,
You
Adam.
know, I mean, we can't
All
hear
right.
you, but at least the audience can.
Well, hold on a
All
second.
right, all right.
Be able to fix
All right.
that. Let's see.
I'll give it a try. Well, hello
Isn't that
everyone.
like it sets an
I
external
apologize
No,
for the
Nothing.
I know you
technical
wanted that the
difficulties,
other day.
Well, we
So,
didn't-
I'm hooking next-
We didn't do it though.
but
I hope you guys aren't stepping on him as you're talking.
I was wondering about that. I don't know, but yeah. Well, hello everyone out there, and my name is Adam Chefs. Glad to be here tonight. Wish I could talk to the host, but that's not a possibility at this moment. Hopefully soon though.
See,
But
can't hear me.
I got a chance to meet the host at the Hoover House a few weeks ago. I did a book signing there. It was great time. It was for a Christmas book signing event, and there were other people there as well, other authors and sidekicks. But so
Yeah,
it's
well,
nice
hello
to
everyone out
meet
there,
everyone.
and my name is
Put
Adam
this way.
Chefs. Glad to be here tonight. Wish I could talk to the host, but that's not a possibility at this moment. Hopefully soon though.
Go ahead.
But I got a
Big
chance.
delay. Big delay. He's done talking.
Can everyone hear me talking
I did a book signing
on
there.
that audio?
Great time. It was for a Christmas book signing event, and there were other people there as well, other authors and sidekicks. But so yeah, well, hello everyone out there, and my name is Adam Chefs. Glad to be here tonight. Wish I could talk to the host, but that's not
So,
a possibility
Adam.
at this moment. Hopefully soon though. But I got a chance. Can everyone hear
Sorry, I'm not
me
talking to everyone. I don't want to talk over the audio when you're trying to figure it out.
Adam,
Yep. Can you hear me?
can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now
Oh,
you're
good.
here.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we got it. What'd you
Okay.
push?
We can do nothing.
I just lowered these.
Okay. Well, hey guys, we figured it out. Sorry about that, Adam. What the heck?
That's all right.
What can I say?
That's okay.
We hey, we try to be high tech, and sometimes it just isn't. High tech doesn't work when you're in a haunted house. The ghosts are deciding that they didn't like last week's episode. So, anyways, Adam, tell us about yourself and give us a little background on you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me here. Glad to be able to talk to you tonight. Oh, there you are. Now I can see all of you. Okay, good. Yeah. So my name is Adam Chefs. I started out as a paranormal investigator back in 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. I started my own investigations team in 2009. I did that until 2017 when I moved to Gettysburg. Then I reinvented myself as the Victorian historian, and now I kind of do programs on the weird, the strange, the unusual, the comical side of America's 19th and early 20th century, as well as writing books on such topics relating to that weird time in America, weird topics in America, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some of those tonight.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I mean, talk about weird times. I mean, come on, look at this. Look what
Yeah,
you're on.
no,
Look what
I-
you're on. I mean, you've got to have a little tongue in cheek with everything you go through nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
now I know you know I have it. I have 2 of your books.
Mhm.
So I like the Christmas book a lot. I think it's neat the letters that came in from the kids and stuff. And it's amazing what you look at it from the point of view nowadays. These kids would never have asked for any of the stuff that was in here. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's just amazing. I mean, the stories that can come out of some of these.
I want Robux.
Yeah, I mean, the things that these kids were asking for and want to know about and stuff is nothing compared to nowadays. And you can see how things have changed over decades. And
Absolutely.
it's neat. Now, where did you get the idea of grabbing these stories? for these
Yeah,
books?
so let me tell the audience what we're talking about. So we're talking about the book Dear Santa Claus. Hopefully you can see it. And this is a book. Sorry, there's a ring of light on there. This is a book. It's a collection of 19th and early 20th century letters written to Santa by children throughout the United States. The book is over 500 pages. There's hundreds of letters from children. So the idea for this book just sort of came out of the blue. I was actually working on, I believe it was volume 3 of History's Haunted Headlines, and I came across in my research a page full of letters to Santa. It was I was looking through a December newspaper, and I started reading these letters. I'm like, this is really interesting. And I just kept reading more and more and looking up more letters. And I was like, I wonder if there's any book like this because I could read this all day. So I went on Amazon. I couldn't find any book like it. So, I decided, you know what? I'm going to write this book. And so I started researching. I put the History's Haunted Headlines aside. I knew that this would be a book that I could probably do fairly quickly. It did take a few months after all, but I ended up finding so many letters from children throughout the United States. And these letters to Santa are not just "Dear Santa, I want this, this, and this." There's substance in each letter, so it gives a little bit of an insight into each child's life and home life and mind of basically their home life. Yeah, you get a little bit of insight into each child's mind during that decade and what was important to them at that time. And yes, what was important to them is so different than what is important to children today. And along with the letters, there are original toy ads I was able to find that I included along with the letters. If the children were asking for that specific toy, it includes rare images of Santa from newspapers well over a century ago. So it's a nice little collection of Christmases of a bygone era. And I thought, yeah, and I thought it was a really unique look into Christmases of the past and into children's lives of the past as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Like I opened up to one of the pages here, and one of the letters in here. It's like, "Dear Santa, I have no papa and my mom, and to support us. She has 3 little children. The only little help she had was my brother Arthur, who drowned." I mean, it's things like that you don't see that anymore. You don't see the kids actually thinking about the whole household and the family. And then they ask for a big doll with long curly hair. So, I mean, it's amazing that you found this stuff to come through, for the kids. I mean, it's very interesting that you can actually archive and find all the letters that comes through, because you figured most people don't even recognize that it was even there at this time.
I'll tell you, I read literally thousands of letters in newspapers across the country from different years, and I had to pick and choose which ones would be the best for the book. I mean, if I were to include every letter I came across, this book would be like 100 volumes. I'm not even exaggerating. It was so many letters. I wanted to pull on every emotion. I wanted to pull on letters that make you laugh, letters that make you sad, letters that are just entertaining. There's letters about siblings quarreling with one another. And then there's letters like, "Dear Santa, I smashed everything you gave me last year." Just just comical letters like that. And I tried to choose letters that would really give the readers all different moods and basically just take them on a different emotional journey through every page, every letter.
Like I said, I told my wife, I said I wanted this when you came out that day, and I didn't know she had got it until Christmas. And so I've been thumbing through it and reading things, and it's kind of interesting to get the point of view at that time period with everything on it. Now, the other book she gave me is your number 1, volume 1, and this one here, I haven't got a chance to get into it yet, but I know if it's anything like the Christmas book, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, this is amazing. Some of the things that I've talked to you about before, and it was very interesting to see how it comes across when it gets started reading it. So
yeah. So the History's Haunted Headlines series, the first 3 volumes are currently out. The 4th volume I'm just finishing working on now. It should be out either the end of this month or beginning of next month. But these are ghost stories, or rather, I wouldn't call them stories. They're actually reports. So they're reported to be true accounts of hauntings and ghost encounters that people have had throughout the country. And back then in the 19th century, if somebody had an encounter with a spirit, there was a haunting in the house, they thought they saw something out and about late at night, they would find a reporter and tell the reporter of their experience. And that reporter in newspapers nationwide would report these stories. And there are so many accounts of these types of stories. It's really interesting to see really how the progression of the paranormal has evolved from the 1840s, the late 1840s, when the Fox sisters pretty much invented modern spiritualism by communicating with spirits, whether they did authentically or they just fabricated it. They still made the public aware of the supernatural, of the paranormal. And so that they were really the origins of modern spiritualism. So History's Haunted Headlines starts from the Fox sisters in 1848, and then captures or follows these reports that have appeared in newspapers nationwide from 1850 up through 1869. That's volume 1. Volume 2 is 1870 up through 1883, and then volume 3 is 1884 up through 1889. And volume 4 will be 1890 through 1899. And it's just fascinating to read these reports of these experiences people have had or believed that they had, and they went and told the reporter, and this was gobbled up by people across the country. People couldn't get enough ghost stories in the 19th century. And I'm trying to, but those accounts in these newspapers were only meant to be read once, and then that newspaper was thrown away. So all these accounts were forgotten about. I'm trying to bring them back and reintroduce them to the public, who can once again enjoy them the way that they did many, many years ago, well over a century ago, including rare images which accompanied the stories. And so that's my goal for this book series, is to reintroduce these fascinating ghost accounts to a new public. So these are really all new ghost stories never seen or heard by anyone since they were first published in their respective newspapers well over a century ago.
And that's amazing, because you figure the printed word back then, people just used it for whatever, wrapping their fish afterwards or whatever they're going to do with it. And just to find that stuff is amazing that you found enough to make these books keep going, which is really neat. I noticed that you said there's photographs in here. I saw there's actually the photographs of a person sitting there and a ghost appearing behind it. I just watched a documentary on that the other day about the guy that
the photographer. Yes, yeah.
That went from Boston to New York or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot his name, but they were talking about him.
I have his name here. I do have his name. Let me just look for it real quick. I forgot it myself.
But what they were talking about was how they're talking about, was it fake or was it not fake? And then at the end of the show, they're saying, okay, so this lady came in, sat down for photography and said her name, and he didn't recognize who she was and took a picture. And it ended up being Mary Todd Lincoln. The picture that was transposed behind her was Lincoln, portrait of Lincoln behind her. I said, okay, is it truth to that section or not? But it's interesting knowing that stuff, how it came across back then. How would you have the knowledge of doing that and doing, faking stuff like that? People look like their family members behind them.
Yeah. So William Mumler, he's the photographer.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know. There were times. So if you read some of the accounts in these books on seances, there are some stories of seances and even seances gone wrong, which end up in brawls. But there are experiences during the seances where a ghost or a spirit is brought forth by the medium, and then somebody in the audience will recognize that person as a long lost relative or friend, even though that person is not related to them or doesn't know them in any way, shape, or form. That person wants so bad to believe that spirit, even if it's a person covered in a tablecloth, whatever, a sheet, they want so bad to believe that person is who they know, that they'll convince themselves that it is that person. So it could very well be the same in these photographs. The spirits that show up in William Mumler's photographs are not always clear. So if a person really wants to see this individual as someone they know, they can psych themselves into believing that, and that may be why many people believe that the spirit in the picture is somebody they actually knew, even when it wasn't. Even when William Mumler was using a plate of someone else and just superimposing that, on that photograph. So I mean, that's my best guess. I don't know. I can't prove it. I can't prove that that's what happened. William Mumler, when he passed away, he destroyed all of his negatives and everything. So we don't know what his process was to do this.
It's kind of neat though. So where it's come from then to now, what differences do you see, like with seances and stuff, compared to then to now with some of the stuff, some of the equipment and things like that? What do you see that go along the same lines?
Yeah, well, I mean, seances back in the 19th century were very archaic compared to seances of today. Were you at the Hoover House? Well, I met you at the Hoover House, but
Yes.
were you there for the table tipping at the end?
Yes, I was
Okay,
here.
you were. Okay. So very, very similar. I mean, table tipping was popular in the 19th century, but now we have electrical devices, we have audio recorders, we could set up cameras to try to potentially capture this activity. So it is very similar, but with a slight I guess twist to it, a more modern twist to try and capture this activity. There really isn't. I mean, I feel that investigating really hasn't changed all that much. We're still trying to communicate with spirits in the same way as we did in the 19th century. We just have electronic equipment to assist us in that.
It's funny you say that. It makes me think, the way we go out and try to communicate, you wonder, like, let's say after the Civil War, right? Did loved ones that lost their husbands, fathers, whatever it may be, go back out to the battlefields and try to have these communications like we do, or they go to, you know what I mean? It's just, it makes you wonder if people back then were, going to these sites that are filled with activity and trying to have their own investigations.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that shortly, or actually during the Civil War and shortly after the Civil War, there was a lack of ghost stories in books. And that's because people throughout the country were met every day with the news of death.
Right.
There was no need, there was no clamoring, there was no interest in ghost stories at the time when there was so much death on people's doorsteps every day. So after the Civil War, I would say about the late 1860s, early 1870s, people's interest in ghost stories started reappearing, and there was more clamoring for these ghost stories. People had grieved, they were ready to move on and be introduced back to entertaining ghost stories. And that's also where mediumship really began blossoming. Was there was a thing called the Good Death back prior to the Civil War, and that is when a loved one would die at home surrounded by their family. In the Civil War, that was lost.
Mm-hmm.
Young soldiers were killed and they died on the battlefield right where they fell. There was no more good death. Families couldn't say goodbye to their loved ones, so they ended up hiring mediums to attempt to communicate with these loved ones, and that was how they can get closure for their young soldier who couldn't have a good death. And there was such a rise of mediumship in the 1870s. In fact, people ended up. There was actually an unofficial religion. There was so much interest in the paranormal and spiritualism that people took on spiritualism as a religion. It was an unofficial religion. If you asked somebody back then what religion they were, they could answer spiritualist. And that's really what they were. And there was really a big spiritualist movement in the 1870s following the Civil War.
That's amazing though. I mean, it's just knowing that I never heard of that term, a good death, until just now when you brought that up. That makes a lot of sense because I've seen it going through some of the photographs my mom has from my grandmother and great grandmother. The stuff that they have some of the photos that were somebody passed away in the house, and the whole parlor, and they have those type of negative photos in there.
Yeah, the postmortem photographs.
Yeah. and it's kind of interesting to go through. I was like, what the heck is this? Not expecting it to be
Right.
in the book, and it's there. I mean, the stuff that they had back then during that type of funeral time. I mean, where they actually had the death clocks and stuff like that. They actually had the clock. They actually had the time stopped. I know there was a couple of those when I picked up my grandmother's trunk, but they had gotten ruined. But they're kind of interesting to see people actually save that stuff, and that's all part the whole spiritualism. So it's kind of neat to see that. So your next book that you're doing, is that just a continuing of the headlines, or is there something?
Yeah, it's the 4th volume of History's Haunted Headlines. It should be done, like I said, late this month, early next month. And then I have some ideas for books after that. I'm toying around. I may take a little break from the paranormal, but then get back to it later on. But yeah, I like to add some just weird stuff in there also, because what I like to write about, yes, I do enjoy writing about ghost stories of the 19th century, or rather ghost accounts, not necessarily stories, but reports, reported to be true accounts. But I also like the comical side of the 19th century. So I want to also include that in my, repertoire of books that I'm writing about.
That'll be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that one. So
yeah. There's a book, my first book I wrote right here, Games That Time Forgot. It's a guide to over 100 forgotten parlor games of the 19th century, and all rewritten step by step, so anyone today can play these games in their own house exactly as they were played back in the 19th century. And then
did you have that at the Hoover? Did you have that? I didn't see that one there.
Oh no,
I didn't see that one there.
Oh. And then the last book I had published was The Rottenest Things on Earth. Sorry for the ring of light there. There we go. The story of the Cherry Sisters. Have you heard of the Cherry Sisters?
No.
Okay, so they were actresses, they're women who were born and grew up in Iowa, who wanted to be stage actresses. And so they would put on these local plays, and family and friends would come and give them polite applause. And because they received this polite applause, they thought themselves as great actresses, but in reality, they were not. So they thought they were such good actresses that they actually went to Chicago and auditioned to get a manager. The manager that they auditioned for was not impressed with them at all, but saw the novelty value in them as bad actresses. He said, he thought to himself, I could make money off these ladies thinking that they're good, and they're not. So they ended up touring some of the largest cities in the country in some of the largest theaters. And the whole time they thought they were amazing actresses and amazing singers, and audiences.
It's like the Kardashians. Sorry.
Audiences pretty much let them know that they were not good at all. They would throw stuff at them. They were physically attacked on stage multiple times, and the sisters would fight back. They would actually jump into the audience and fight with the audience members.
Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that. I guess you could look at it that way. Yeah, and they were involved with lawsuits. Anytime a newspaper would trash one of their reviews, and all the reviews are in this book, they would sue these editors. They would actually attack editors if they saw them out in public. But the thing is, the reviews in the papers were so bad that people nationwide, when the sisters came to their city, they said, there's no way these sisters can be that bad. We have to see them for ourselves. And because of that, they sold out theaters throughout the country. And they essentially failed their way up to Broadway. They actually appeared on Broadway.
That's crazy. I've never heard that. I'm gonna have to get that book down.
And the only reason they appeared on Broadway is because Oscar Hammerstein, the original Oscar Hammerstein, who had a theater that was failing in New York, he tried putting on the best talent to save his theater, to put people in the seats, and it wasn't working. So he said, I've tried the best talent, now I'm going to try the worst. And he brought the Cherry Sisters to New York on Broadway, and they single-handedly saved his theater from bankruptcy.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
neat. That's
Yeah, and there are so many offshoot stories. There's fights with neighbors and lawsuits with this and that and and sibling quarrels and I mean it's a fascinating story that's not very well known.
that. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I mean, Steve, did you ever hear about that?
Yeah.
That's just amazing, though. I mean, how'd you find out about that? How'd you research to get a hold of that part of it?
I had heard about the Cherry Sisters on there was a show Mysteries at the Museum on the Travel Channel, and
Okay.
I happened to hear about them, and then I ended up hearing a podcast afterward, and I'm like, this is really interesting. I wonder, like, I'm really interested in learning more about these ladies, and I found numerous podcasts and I found numerous websites, but it's all the same information. So I wanted to dig a little deeper, so I ended up going on to um, newspaper archives basically, and found so much material of newspapers accounts of what they saw, what the sisters' plays were like, um, all the reviews, interviews with the sisters themselves, rare images and photographs of the sisters. So I included all of this in the book. The book is over. It's over 400 pages, and it's action packed throughout. I mean, there's no downtime in this book. It is just action packed from one city to the next. The experiences the sisters had at the hotel, how they, didn't like a certain city, so they said to get back at the way they were treated, I'm not going to pay my hotel bill, and they snuck out in the middle of the night, and and then they'd be sued over it. So it's a fascinating story. It really is. Yeah.
That is neat. I mean, I'm just glad there's somebody actually going back and pulling these stories out that are probably be lost forever. If you didn't do this, there's nobody that's doing back and doing it. And I think that's great that you're going back and then pulling these stories out, because just going through the Christmas book and reading those things, and then your first book, I'm going to be going through that also. I mean, it's just being able to pick stories out
Right.
and see it from the eyes of what was going on at the time period.
Yeah.
I mean, because most people nowadays don't even pay attention to history,
No, sadly.
and this is something that's really neat. You don't hear about it. It's one of those shoots off of what history was, and you're keeping it alive by doing this. That's great. I really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you, and that's what I love doing. I love to keep this old history alive because it is lost. All these old newspapers were tossed out. A lot of them were thrown out. So all this is lost, and I want to be able to bring it back and introduce it to a new generation. And so I take pride in doing that. And just going back to the Cherry Sisters book real quick, I take pride in knowing that it's the only book available on the sisters in the country at this time. So I do take pride in that, but also just in all my books, being able to preserve this history, and like for instance the Parlor Games book, not only preserve it but allow a new generation to actually play these games as they were played back then, and turn any location into a location of living history.
Right. Susan, I think you said the Cherry Sisters are from Iowa.
Yes.
Okay. And then Pam is asking how long you've been writing.
Been writing since I started writing in 2018, I believe it was.
All right.
Yeah, 2018. I started writing, and
Nice.
it's become a passion. It's become a great hobby. I really enjoy it. Any downtime I have, I'm researching and writing, and it's something I love doing.
That's awesome.
That
That's
is neat.
awesome.
That is neat.
Yeah, it's a nice way to just
And this Dear Santa
channel,
Claus
you
book,
know?
I was looking at it, I'm going through it. Back then, they didn't call him St. Nick. Let's see, all of them were Dear Santa Claus or Dear Santy. They use that name back then?
Oh, did they use? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
St. Nick. Like
Yes.
so I can see any anymore. I could be missing some, because I'm flipping through it fast. But there's a couple in here which I found very interesting. One says, "Dear old Santa Claus, my name is Genevieve Williams. I want so much. Mama said you won't bring it all, and I bet you will. reply from Santa. You called me old, you get nothing. Go to the next one here. I'm a little 3-year-old tot. Oh no, that's the wrong one. That's not the one I want. I'm 9 years old, and I can't write very good. It wasn't me that drove the Volkswagen through the garage door and hit the Corvette. That was my sister. She told me the wrong pedals on the car. I'm very sorry. Please bring me a new bike. Crash Bandit. I don't know. Some of the ones you got in here are pretty good. No, honestly, they are. Like I
Yeah,
said,
no. No vehicles back then.
But I mean, it's just going through it. It kind of sucks you in when you're reading those because you go, oh, I'm just going to read it for a couple minutes, and you're like almost through half the book by the time you're done because the stories or the letters, I should say, are just like, look at the way they were thinking. You know how they thought about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't just thinking about. Some of the kids weren't thinking about themselves; they're thinking about their families and if they lost their parent.
They weren't self-centered.
Yeah,
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're thinking about
yeah.
You know,
everyone
reading
else
what
before
what
you
they
think
had
about
back
yourself.
then, what they wanted. You know.
It's a dolly, candy, or
Yeah, it
know,
was-
a pair of shoes or
You
something
know.
like that. Nowadays, if you went to look at the letters from Santa Claus newspaper, I want you to bring me this Xbox. I want the motorcycle. You better bring me
There's none of
this.
them in here.
You know,
Look at
it
Right.
the writing and the way the kids were brought up back then. Some are a little snotty, but
Yeah.
you had the ones that were very polite, and you can tell by the changing in decades and over how things go over the decades with the kids nowadays. And if I just wish you could get it into a school, a history class in school, and actually go over this with kids and see what they think about what the time period is and everything else, what they thought about these letters at that age. I wonder what the kids would think about reading it, because most kids wouldn't grab the book and read it themselves unless they are giving it to them to have them read it. I wonder what kids.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Well, I know that I know of I have friends who have friends with very young children, and my friends tell me that their friends read the book to their kids. So children of the age of the children in the book are hearing the stories today.
Well, that's good.
What they think about it, I don't know. I don't have any feedback about that. I just know that parents are reading this book and these letters to their kids who are about the same age. 4 through 8, I want to say. 4 through 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. So kids today, at least 2 that I know of, are hearing these stories or these letters that were written so many years ago. But like you said, I mean, it's night and day what kids are asking for today compared to what they asked for back then. And yeah, some of the kids were snotty back then. There's one that comes to mind, and I don't have it in front. I don't have it in front of me, but it's like
A Christmas Story.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Scott Farkas.
You see the one I found in this book here.
Sorry.
I got to read this quick. Santa Claus, please bring me some oranges, apples. You probably remember this one. Candies, torpedoes. Right? 2, little drum, harp, a little rocker. I told you last year to bring me a watch, but you didn't do it. I want one. Kids like the man. Papa said they were all gone. Bring me everything this time. I am 7 years old. Put all my things in my stocking and cap under the center table. So you can hide this stuff.
very
Come-
demanding. Very
Yeah,
demanding.
come soon. I'm your friend all the time. I'm like, so when I saw torpedoes, I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I'm a torpedoes.
Yeah.
But the one I was thinking of about the snotty kid, he basically lists what he wants. I want this, this, and this, and then he says, "Don't disappoint me." Like it almost sounds very threatening.
Right.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That it is fun. I mean, it is fun. You sit there and think about the way these kids wrote it, and most of them probably at the age where they actually could write, unless they had somebody else, an older brother or sister, maybe mom wrote it and sent it in and stuff.
And they'll even say that in the letter. They said, I'm basically, my name is so and so. I'm 4 years old. I can't write, but my older sister's writing for me, or my mom's writing for me. they're just dictating to somebody older what they want. But it is interesting that even in that dictation, it's still put in the letter that they're having somebody else write for them.
Right.
Have you ever had anybody at this point in time come across, and because I know some of them have names in it and stuff, anybody come across that was my great grandfather, that was my great grandmother, or anything like that come through and say that to you?
No. But what I did, and this was actually kind of fun to do when I was writing, and I do the same thing for the History's Haunted Headlines books. So in the Dear Santa Claus book, you can see there's addresses, lots of addresses given after the child signs their name off. It's they give the address, so that Santa can find their house easily. And with the History's Haunted Headlines, sometimes there is a haunting at a specific location, and I may give the location at times if it is included in the story. So what I'll do is, if there is an address given, I'll go on to Google Earth and see if that home is still stands.
Mhm.
Many times it's not. Many times the home is no longer there. Now it's an apartment complex, or it's a parking lot, or what have you. But there are some occasions where the house is still standing, and I'm like, the person who lives here has no idea that this story about their home appeared in the paper well over a century ago, and I just find that fascinating. I just find it
Right.
really interesting.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's neat when you can go back and you can take something that was written and hit it back where it
Where
originated.
it
from.
originated, yeah.
I mean, that's neat. That is.
It is.
Now I'm sure you can actually expand this, Stephen, be international too. If you ever went down that road, that's opened a whole can of worms there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So my interest in 19th century history and early 20th century history tends to lean more toward American history.
Okay.
That's just the period of, I mean, that's just the area of interest history that I'm interested in. I mean, yes, I find international history interesting, but I am proud to be in America, and so that's what my area of interest in history kind of leans toward. But
Right.
I am fascinated with international history as well. It's just I kind of want to keep the books I'm writing to American history at this time. Doesn't mean I won't expand later on, but kind of keeping it national
Yeah.
for now.
That's cool. That is
Yeah.
cool. So, where can anybody pick up your books at?
Yeah, so all the books are available at Amazon. They're all available at Amazon, including History's Haunted Headlines Volume 4 very shortly. That'll be on Amazon as well. If you go onto Amazon, you can just type in my name, and it should come up with all the titles. Or an even easier way is if you go to my website, thevictorianhistorian.com, or just victorianhistorian.com. They both lead to the same site. And you click on, I believe it's library or book. No, I'm sorry, bookstore. It's bookstore. Then all the books are there with direct links to them on Amazon. So that
Okay.
might even be an easier way of doing it.
Wes Coleman saying no room for Canadians.
Did you?
Soon,
Wait,
maybe
I'm-
soon.
I'm fascinated by some of these stories in here.
Steve's hooked now.
Because
I'm not getting my book back.
What the kids ask for, I mean, these kids are like 6 years. This one's 5 years old. He wants a gold watch, a gold ring, and a bracelet. I mean,
Maybe he's an Italian neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
he's 5 years old. And I went over here, wants firecrackers, 5 boxes of firecrackers.
Well, you know what kind of kid that is, Steve.
We all wanted those as kids. We would
But
put them in
I
people's
noticed in a lot of
mailboxes.
stories, what they're asking for is
Right.
gold things, stuff made out of gold, and drums. A lot of them are drums. So I guess drums was the instrument back
I mean,
then.
it's just the time frames. Everybody's needs and wants were different.
Yeah, drums, tin horns, anything that there's anything that makes noise, I guess, basically,
That's
right?
funny
Right.
because they're
But
like 5
I would
years old,
imagine-
6 years old. They're asking for gold rings and,
Right.
and like a Rolex.
I would imagine like these kids are seeing, let's say, the Union soldiers or Confederate soldiers coming into their towns, and they're hearing, the drums and everything like that. So, yeah, I could see the kids' admirations in the sense that they're seeing like the little drummer boys. Or
There you go, sir. Sorry there.
no, you're fine. You just got a paper cut.
But I mean, yeah, I mean that's true. They saw what was coming through, and that's what the new thing was. I mean, some of these
Yeah,
kids probably didn't even see half the instruments that came through
Mm.
until the time period.
Well, I put the
that
rating
happened.
on the wall.
Yeah. There's another letter that comes to mind from the Dear Santa Claus book, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but I can give you the gist of it. It's a little girl, probably about 5, 6 years old, and she has a doll. And she's telling Santa that she dropped her doll and her eyes broke. Her eyes fell out and are rolling the back of the head. And she's like, Santa, please come fix my doll. I'm so glad my eyes don't break when I fall, or something to that extent.
Right.
I mean, it was cute. It was cute.
That's
But,
where we get haunted dolls from.
But yeah, I know it does. It's like the innocence of childhood in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, don't touch nothing. But that's it's just amazing the stories that you get. Like Steve's been sitting here looking at the book. He's like, "Oh, this is interesting," because I didn't bring him back over, and I don't know if he's had a chance to even read some of them. But I've been,
And I love that. And I love that it's just capturing your attention. I love that.
Right.
especially Steve. He's like, a squirrel. Sometimes it's there, and sometimes it's not.
Your dog kills squirrels.
Yes, I know.
Or squirrels.
So,
We can even live in your yard.
so,
I saw this person again the other day when I was in the hospital.
oh,
This guy right here. Where's the camera? Take them the camera.
camera's right there. There you go.
Oh,
Okay. The guy tweeting.
Spectropia. Yeah.
Who is that?
So that's a book that came out in 1860. Oof, I want to say 63 or 64. I think it's 64, and it was called Spectropia. And basically, it was a book of 16 different images, color images of drawn or sketched ghosts, and witches and like goblins. And basically, what you would do is you would hold that image about a foot away from your face. You would stare at it for 20 seconds, and then you would look up at a blank wall or anything that's blank and blink rapidly, and you'll see the image of what you were just staring at on that blank surface. It's basically image transfer from your brain to the. You can do it with any object. You can take a tube of toothpaste and look at it for 20 seconds, and then blink, and you'll see the tube of toothpaste is still in your brain. It's just an image transfer. But that's how people saw ghosts at home for entertainment in the 19th century. It was as simple as that. So I included all 16 images from Spectropia in the first volume of History's Haunted Headlines.
That is neat. I never even knew
Right here's Abe Lincoln.
that. Didn't even know anything about that book. I just thought something they did nowadays because you see it'll come up on your Facebook page or whatever else, and they look at this picture and it blink your eyes and it shows up, and it's like, and that was a form of entertainment. That's
It's the same
it's
exact
amazing.
thing.
Yeah.
Same
It's
exact thing. Yep.
No cell phones.
No cell phones, nothing
None of
else.
that
I mean,
stuff.
it's
No
just-
No
phones,
technology.
Yeah, no TV, no radio. You for entertainment, you played music if you were musically inclined, or you went to the opera, or you told stories, or you played games, or you looked at ghosts for staring at an image for 20 seconds. But yeah, very much simpler times back then.
Better
Or
times.
you know what? Maybe to us it was simpler. Maybe not to those living it, but to us it seems like it was simpler times.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine that. I mean, your parents you come in the room, and your parents, you're staring and looking at a book, staring at it, and you're looking at it, and you're freaking out, and the parents are like, "What are you doing looking at that?"
Yeah.
Nowadays we're like, whatever, they're quiet.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
So the next book's coming out shortly, which is great to see.
Yeah.
I have to pick up your other books yet. I'm still getting little by little, getting the rest of your books together here, which is kind of neat because I like having, once I get a collection of something, I like keeping that collection of books together because it's kind of having an oddity having one or two out of the set. So
Mhm. Yeah, I'm trying to build a little library, Victorian historian library. So it's coming along. It's coming along nicely. So I'm happy. with it.
Well, the decor in the room really sets
Oh,
it behind you.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah, I live in a Victorian era house and try to keep it looking as such.
Is it haunted?
I've had some experiences, and so have others. Yeah,
He's like, we're not getting into that
all,
right now.
not all the time, but you never know when it's going to happen. Something will just catch you off guard now and then. But
Right.
yeah,
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I just,
yeah, nothing's happened in a while, so it's quiet.
Well, that's good.
Watch it go haywire when we're done here.
Right, exactly.
Well,
Just
look
invited
what
it.
happened here tonight. I mean,
I know.
Had a wire unplugged.
what wire was unplugged?
We know it all.
What wire was unplugged? I think it was.
High five.
We know.
I'm gonna sabotage their drinks. Just wait till we go to the Doss house.
Yeah.
But
Well, I appreciate you being on
Yeah.
and your time and very interesting stuff. And I'm looking forward to reading the books as well.
I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure. I'm so glad things worked out. With the
Yeah.
technical difficulties.
we do apologize. for
Yeah,
that.
and your
Thanks.
patience.
No, it's fine. Hey, things happen. So
But let everybody know where they can get the books again.
yeah, so the books are all available on Amazon. You can go on Amazon, type in my name, they'll come up. Or if you don't want to search it that way, you can go to either thevictorianhistorian.com or just victorianhistorian.com. Click on bookstore, and I have direct links to all the books on Amazon, so you don't have to try to search for it. It's
Right.
right there for you.
Stephanie Haggerty, real quick, is asking, what's your favorite, most interesting book to write?
Honestly, I would have to say, as much as the History's Haunted Headlines books are a joy to write, I really had a lot of fun writing the Cherry Sisters book. That was a lot of fun. That was, I came across so much information, but out of order, depending on how I found it in the
Right.
newspapers. And then I had to search timelines. I had to match timelines up, make sure everything, I wanted all the information, but I wanted to be sure it matched in timelines. So
Right.
it was a lot of work. At times it was like, I don't know if I can do this. I really thought to myself when I started writing, I'm like, there's so much information. I've never written a biography before. This is my first biography. I told myself, I don't know if I can do this. And I almost gave up right at the beginning. And I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And little by little, I saw the story building. And there were times I found some discrepancies in timelines, and I had to research that and then swap where in the book certain things appear or had occurred. But I'm very happy with the way it came out. It was a lot of work. It was a labor of love. If I had to do it all again, I would.
Right.
I really enjoyed it, and it's a fascinating story, and I just love the story. And it's not a very well known story at all, but it's a story I felt I needed to get out and
Right.
have people see, because it is too good to not know about.
Right.
That's
Now, I
true.
know, real quick, you said you were thinking about taking a break from the paranormal. Will you still be at the Bash this year?
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
already have my table.
All right. Very good.
I've already got my table. Yeah, no, I mean, after this book, I'm, toying with another book on just really bizarre stories from 19th century newspapers. I'll give you a little bit of give you a little sneak peek. So there's a woman in New York, I think Northport, New York, I believe. And I believe this happened in 1890. I want to say 96 or 97. This woman was washing her wallpaper, as people did back then, with all the soot from fireplaces, and people would scrub their wallpaper once a week or once every other week. Well, she was scrubbing wallpaper in her bedroom, and whatever she was standing on, a stool or a chair, she lost her balance and she fell, and she got impaled by one of the bedposts on her bed. And she was found 2 hours later by someone some family member who came home, found her impaled on her bedpost after losing balance washing the wallpaper. And there's an illustration to go along with it, which I'm including in the book. So just weird, bizarre stuff like that. Another one is a farmer that a friend I believe this happened in 1895. A farmer told a friend a joke, and the farmer laughed and laughed and couldn't catch his breath, and eventually suffocated to death from laughing. So
Right.
just really bizarre stories in 19th century newspapers, which again, these papers were discarded.
Entertainment.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's also
and-
entertainment then too.
Yeah, yeah. So right now I'm in the process of collecting these types of stories, and I should have enough to definitely make a book out of it, and then I'll go back possibly to the paranormal. But I'll definitely be at the bash. I hope to see you all if you're going to be there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, excellent.
All right.
Absolutely. Can't miss the dinosaurs.
Yeah, he's the dinosaur king here.
The guy over your right shoulder in the back on the wall, is that chalk? Is that chalk paint up there?
That is, yes,
Or
it
is
is.
that-
It is a chalk painting, and I don't remember the gentleman's name. It's on the back. I did some research on him, and he died fairly young. He died in his 30s. He apparently had. I found some newspaper. He was I believe he was a pastor. I think he was a
Oh, wow.
pastor. And there were entries in newspapers that I found talked about him having some. He was basically sickly. He had a lot of different things going on with him, and he ended up dying early in his 30s. So I found this at an antique shop, and it wasn't that expensive. So I brought it home, and I like to do research on everything I bring home, and I was able to find a little bit of history on him.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
That's neat.
Very
That's neat.
cool.
It is.
Very
this
cool.
neat picture just caught my eye because that's what Pam collects. So
Don't let Pam in your house.
yeah, no,
and then there's
Yeah.
a woman. There's a woman on this side.
yeah,
I
I
don't
see
know.
her. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know the history of her though. And then behind me, there's a. You can't really see it, but it's a lithograph of the game Blind Man's Bluff, or Blind Man's Bluff. So
Very
kind
cool.
of yeah.
That's neat. Well, Adam, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming on. Sorry
Thanks
for the
for having me.
inconvenience and everything. Oh, no problem. Anytime. And we'll let you go. And we'll see you soon here. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you soon.
All right. Good night, and good night to everyone watching. And thank you for tuning in. And hope you all enjoyed it, and have a good night.
All
You
right.
too.
too.
Thanks
All right.
again.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Everybody. That was good. It was a really good show tonight.
I like those stories.
These stories are amazing. You guys,
I was serious
Just-
about what the kids
you
wanted.
got to get the books.
Yeah, I get the book just to read what the kids wanted. I mean,
Yeah.
I was reading through that book. I'm like, oh my god, every gold rings. Almost everyone wants a gold ring and a bracelet, and they're like 6 years old, 5 years old. I'm like, what? Why would you be asking for gold? Guess they were smart back then because we didn't ask for that. They're asking for PlayStation. That's for gold, kids. Gold bar,
It's amazing. It's amazing.
right?
I love it.
Asking for gold stuff.
I started going to the book deal like a week ago and stuff, and I'm reading them like, man, these are interesting. By the time I looked up, it's like 3:00. I'm like, oh, I gotta get sleep.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I want to thank everyone for all the prayers that were sent for me being in the hospital the other day. I am got another extension on life for another 10 minutes.
Steve's rubber band's never wound. His rubber band sometimes gets wound too tight, and then it has to be released.
So, but-
Yeah. Glad
So
everything's all
what
right.
wire did you actually have unplugged over there?
I didn't have anything unplugged. I
I
didn't
just
touch
messed
anything.
with these.
Yeah,
he
but
must-
these shouldn't have nothing to do with it.
It did.
They shouldn't. See?
So something was locked
I don't know.
No, it shouldn't.
because as soon as that got moved,
Yeah, as
everything
soon as
came
These
out.
haven't been moved since the last show. So
I think it's paranormal.
I think
I didn't do anything. All I did is turn it on, checked it. It was working.
come
with the
back
show.
next week as you see us with where we can't hear you either.
We're gonna try it. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna sign off tonight. Steve,
Yes.
take us out.
Thank you all for all the prayers. And you see a veteran, thank him.
All right, guys. Good night. We'll
See ya.
Good night.
All right.